So my name is Teddie Potter. I'm clinical professor at the School of Nursing at the University of Minnesota, where I'm honored to be the first director of Planetary Health. And that brings me to your door today, and it's very nice to be joining you from Minnesota. So I really want to be focused today on talking about planetary health as part of the sustainability mission and the direction that we're going. I'm going I'm going to be talking about the collapse of the Earth's natural systems and the impact on human ecosystem and health, looking at the five domains of planetary health and some opportunities for us to be involved. But I couldn't be speaking to a group from England without mentioning Florence Nightingale. This is her birthday, and so it's the International Day of Nurses today. And so it's very much my honor to be speaking with all of you on this day. A little bit about myself. As a child, I would spend most of my time out in nature. And when you're outside that long, you begin to see connections and patterns. And that's one of the beauties of nature, whether you're hiking or camping or canoeing, the patterns are just spectacular. But I began to understand that something was happening and that I was part of those patterns, but the patterns were being disrupted. One of my favorite quotes is by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who talks about these patterns. We're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. And that is exactly right. So, given my love of patterns, I began to recognize in the late 1990s, early 2000s, that our patterns were changing in Minnesota. The ice was coming in much, much later, and we were falling a lot because we're used to skating on ice. We're not used to in between weather where there's a lot of ice on the sidewalks. Our birds were migrating at different times. In fact, the robin, who is always the first sign of spring, never left the winter. It never flew away. And so something was really wrong. Our flowers were arriving at different times. And that's what got me involved in looking at climate change and the other issues. I wanted to know why these beloved threads of connection, this web of life that I've always loved, why were these threads breaking? What was happening? So I got into my metaphorical canoe and paddled upstream. Nurses think upstream. If we see something going wrong, we go way upstream to figure out why it's happened. We don't just stay at correcting the problem as we see it now and reacting to the problem. We want to intervene to prevent as much suffering as possible. So I had an inkling that these disruptions of patterns were going to have massive impacts on human health. So I wanted to figure out what was going on. Part of it is that our species, our animal species, human species, our population has gone basically unchecked. We did pretty well. We were pretty stable and in line with the ecosystem until the start burning of fossil fuels in the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s. And then our species just skyrocketed. Our population did. And it's not that, more humans is all bad. It's our consumption patterns. We have patterns of consumption that are driving the Earth system towards extinction, in that we are using up our resources faster than the Earth can replenish them. If you look at Earth Overshoot Day, it's the day of the year when we hit the point where we've used our Earth's allocation of renewable resources. The last time we were in balance, when we used a year's worth of resources in a year's time, was in 1970. It also happens to be the year that the Earth Day celebration was started, 50 years ago. Now we're using up the Earth's resources right around August, and we are using about 1.6 Earths to support our current pattern of consumption. Now that is a problem and not sustainable. And all of these lifestyle choices and who we are as a species are impacting the survival of humans and other species. We're clearing forests at an alarming rate. Our biodiversity loss is 1,000 times normal. So there's a normal pattern of biodiversity loss. We're 1,000 times that. We're causing a mass extinction. Oceans acidifying, land is becoming desert, soil, air, and water pollution, microplastics. Just last year, we discovered that microplastics were showing up in the placenta of humans. That can't be good. We're not quite sure longitudinally what it's going to do to us, but that just can't be good to have microplastics circulating around our bloodstream. These extreme weather events, temperatures are increasing, and we're having sea level rises. So all of this has impacts. Just to show you in Europe, this is a real visual point of seeing in colors what the temperature is doing across Europe. And to bring us back to plastics, here we are showing where the plastics are circulating in our oceans. So humans are messing up our ecosystem in massive ways. And all of these ways lead to human health implications. Not in the future, not 100 years from now, right now. They're happening right now, and we need to get involved. For example, this is my family album from this summer. My son was bit by a deer tick in upper state New York, and he got Lyme's disease. Then he moved back here, and he was bit by another deer tick here in Minnesota and got Lyme's disease again. This lower left-hand corner is the chubby legs of my little grandson, who got bit by a deer tick up in northern Minnesota. And then my daughter, who was pregnant at the time, got bit by a deer tick at a park in our urban area. This is highly unusual, and this is what's happening around the world, these vector changes and changes in the human our relationship with the ecosystem. Half the world's people live within 40 miles of a coast. This is another huge issue. And take a peek right here as you're probably sitting, or if you're online, take a peek at this. Think about what's along the Thames. What do you see? What buildings, what organizations, which hospitals are located in those floodplain areas? If we reach 1.5, the blue areas are underwater. If we reach a higher 3.0 degrees centigrade change, all the orange areas will be underwater. This is not acceptable. We now understand if we admit we are committing to this future. And we are expecting mass migration all over the world, 216 million people on the move by 2050. We're certainly seeing that at the border of the United States right now, the southern border of mass migration. Some of it's related to economic struggles, but the economic struggles are oftentimes related to the land being not arable anymore. They can't raise crops, and they're have to be on the move for survival. The 2019 Lancet Countdown executive summary said it this way: the life of every child born today will be profoundly affected by climate change, with populations around the world increasingly facing extremes of weather, food, and water insecurity, changing patterns of infectious disease, and a less certain future. Without accelerated intervention, this new era will come to define the health of people at every stage of their lives. That means every single health professional that's listening today, we will be dealing with this. We will be caring for people and communities who will be suffering the impact of these environmental degradations. More recently, the UN General Secretary said this at the opening of the COP conference in Egypt last November. We are in the fight of our lives, and we're losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing, global temperatures keep rising, and our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible. We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator. Humanity has a choice: cooperate or perish. It's either a climate solidarity pact or a collective suicide pact. That is very dire, but very accurate. So, in the words of Greta Thunberg, the iconic Swedish climate activist, we can't save the world by playing by the rules because the rules have to be changed. Everything needs to change, and it has to start today. So, take a deep breath. That's just not easy to hear. But as health professionals, we often face things that are not easy to hear. We face diagnoses that are life threatening. It is time for us to open our ears, hear the diagnosis, and plan on how we're going to respond. And I'd like to introduce you to Planetary Health, which offers the best response that I know of. So, planetary health is a solutions oriented, that's really nice. Don't want to just be problem focused, transdisciplinary field and social movement focused on analyzing and addressing the impacts of human disruptions to Earth's natural systems on human health and all life on the planet. You might be more familiar with public health, eco health, global health, One Health, and of course the UN Sustainable Development Goals. All of those can be nested under planetary health. So this is not a time for competition or a time that one is better than the other. It's a time to come together under the general umbrella of planetary health and find each other and work together. A couple documents that I want to share with you that I think will be very useful. One is the Planetary Health Education Framework. This brought leaders and educators from all over the world in different disciplines together to say, how are we going to teach our higher education students about planetary health? We started out with over 500 things we wanted to have in the curriculum. And as you know, there is not room in our curriculum for 500 talking points. So we finally got it down to 5 core domains that we want every single student in every discipline around the globe to come out with this shared language so that they can talk to one another. So nurses can talk to the people in agriculture and engineers and come together for the solutions that we need to co-create. The first domain is interconnection within nature. This is not reconnecting humans to nature. This is helping us understand that humans and nature are intimately connected. There is no separation. There has never been a separation. We've always been connected. And anything we do to nature, pollution, causing mass extraction issues, cutting the forest, we are doing to ourselves and our future. We have to understand the Anthropocene in health. The humans are causing this. This is not going to be solved by technology or just figuring out solutions that we have to purchase. This is going to happen when we change our behaviors and the ways we react and interact with the rest of the ecosystem, and our prioritization of future generations, making decisions for future generations. We need to be making sure our solutions are deeply grounded in equity and social justice, that we understand systems, try to understand how systems work and the complexity of systems so that we aren't blindsided by unintended consequences. And so we can pull the biggest levers when we see them. We also need to teach our students how to build movements and create change. The second document I want to share with you is called the Sao Paulo Declaration on Planetary Health. This was released in 2021 at the Planetary Health annual meeting, which was scheduled for Sao Paulo, but we had to do it virtual. And this is what the Sao Paulo Declaration says. It's a crowdsourced document. The global community came together to draft this document. We need a fundamental shift in how we live on Earth, what we're calling the Great Transition. Achieving the Great Transition will require rapid and deep structural changes across most dimensions of human activity. We need, in this Great Transition, to address how we produce and consume food, how we produce and manufacture products and energy, how we construct our cities and live in our cities, and even the stories that we tell ourselves. It's a call for massive innovation and collaboration across disciplines and across sectors. So instead of being in despair and isn't this an awful moment, I think what a wonderful moment to co-create a society that works on behalf of all people. This is what the global community calls for health professionals to do, to reorient towards disease prevention and health promotion, moving away from our current illness care system to a true health care and health promotion system, incorporating health perspectives from indigenous communities as well as other traditional knowledge systems, making sure that people have access to green space as a form of our restoring and renewing our health, nutritious diets, and that healthcare for all is a human right. So in the United States, just to talk briefly about how we're doing this, we're doing things, we're really focusing on decarbonizing the US health sector. So a lot of work is going into looking at our footprint. In the United States, we create 8.5% of our greenhouse gas emissions. Healthcare does that. That's crazy. On the one hand, we're called to do no harm and to preserve life. On the other hand, we're creating greenhouse gases that are contributing to illness and early death. This is not acceptable. Healthcare professionals around the nation are being called to intervene. Another example from nursing is we have worked with Project Drawdown to promote solutions through nursing to our patients and our nursing community. We've chosen 5 solutions from the Drawdown science: planting trees and protecting our forests, plant-based diets, educating girls, walkable, bikeable cities, and renewable energy. We are encouraging the 27 million nurses and midwives in the world. We are encouraging people to take up these actions. So we have solutions. We know what to do. We know what's going wrong, and it is time to act. The decision is ours. Which future do we want for the generations that follow? This is my grandson. Every time I hold him in my lap and read him a story, I am thinking about how I can work with all of you to make sure that his future is bright and that he can flourish, as can all of our children around the world. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.